Hello, everyone, and welcome to this latest episode of Book Time with Elvis with me, Mark. And I come to you today with what I hope will turn out to be a new series. I'm not sure I'll be able to manage it every Friday, but certainly I would hope a few Fridays a month. And I'm going to call it Freebie Friday, where I'm going to try and go through books that are in the public domain that you can download from places like Project Gutenberg and such like, perhaps some more obscure books, more obscure things, and of course all of them will be free, and it's always good to have free things, isn't it? So yeah, I'm going to start off with a book I came across by chance. It's a novella, really, and it's quite short, and it's this piece here called, if you can see that, The Battle of Dorking. Sorry for the glare. You can see, oh yeah, you can see me again through that, can't you? So yeah, The Battle of Dorking, and it is an early piece, if not a founding piece of what became termed as invasion fiction, and it was written in 1871 by General Sir George Tomkyns Chesney. It's a good name for you, although at the time of writing he was only a captain in the Royal Engineers of the Indian Army, and he got concerned very much by the state of the British Army at the time. It was rather run down, ramshackled. It was only really involved in kind of colonial wars. Investment had stopped and this kind of thing. And of course, between 1870 and 1871, you had the Franco-Prussian War, and France was deemed at the time probably to be the greatest military power, at least on the continent of Europe, and yet they were very soundly defeated by the Prussians, and of course that paved the way for German unification. And it scared people, like our friend there, George Chesney. And he hypothesized a situation where Prussia would not stop at France and instead come through and invade the United Kingdom. Although he's very careful in the book not to mention the country by name. He just talks of it as a German-speaking country, so he doesn't specifically name Prussia. The book starts with the narrator talking about, reminiscing rather on this war and this invasion that took place 50 years previously, and then of course he goes back 50 years to describe what happened at the time, how Britain was terribly unprepared. So there's nothing new there. It seems every time a war crops up or anything, Britain is terribly unprepared. But then perhaps, it's worked out in the end, hasn't it? So, but it didn't work out this time because they sent the fleet out to meet the Prussians, and the fleet, through some calamities and the dastardly use and underhand use of German torpedoes, was pretty much destroyed. And this German-speaking army was able to land in Worthing on the south coast of England, and they met the British forces there just outside Dorking, and the Prussians broke through the British lines, and the British had to run and scatter, and pretty much all was lost. And this is due to the fact that there was not enough professional army around. It was mostly auxiliaries and militia. They were poorly equipped. At one point, they're issuing men with Brown Besses, the old muskets that they would have used, 15 years before that, perhaps. And so then he comes forward in 50 years into the future, and Britain, of course, is in a terrible state. It's been completely conquered, and the German-speaking army has placed some kind of ransom on Britain, a form of reparations, that kind of thing, on them. Because in the book, actually, to be fair, Britain does declare war on this German-speaking country because of the fear that it had, and it wanted to get in there first and all that sort of stuff. And basically, yeah, Britain's in a very sorry state. France was able to kind of rise up and deal with its defeat because of its own internal wealth and the fact it had, you know, large farms and fields and things like that. Whereas all Britain had were colonies and business, which is very much like today, excepting the colonies. You know, we don't have much in the way of real industry. A lot of things we have are just to do with the financial sector and this kind of stuff. And he talks about the world that's 50 years down the line. So the British Empire is no more. The Germans have taken over a few possessions such as Malta and Gibraltar. Dominion like Canada has been ceded to the United States, as have the West Indies. Ireland has got its independence, but has been embroiled in a civil war, which actually, of course, did happen. And India and Australia also received full independence as well. It's an interesting book. As I said, it's mostly to do with or seen as starting this whole invasion literature, which of course is the best example is H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, which I was going to talk about in some detail until I found out that Jack over at the Rambling Raconteur has made a fantastic video today already about it. So I'm not going to say any more on that. Instead, I will direct you towards his channel. I'll leave a link below, and you can see the passion he has for this book and his fantastic musings upon it. You know, so this book is seen as something new. It kind of creates a new genre. There was a smattering of this type of work when the French first had the manned balloon flights back in the 18th century, but it really starts off here and moves forward with the likes of Wells, Childers, and Buchan, you know, with his 39 Steps and things like that. So it's a big thing, and this novella itself was very popular pretty much from its publication up to the First World War. It's good. It's interesting. It's definitely very interesting. I'm not sure that Tomkyns Chesney was necessarily a writer, but then of course he wasn't. He was a military man and an engineer. His ideas are very interesting, but as I say, from a writing point of view, it's a bit stilted. It's not that amazingly well written, but I think it's something worth exploring. There are some funny moments in it. I love the fact that he has friends called Danvers and Travers, for example, and you know, there's some very, very, you know, stiff upper lip British Victorian moments in it. So I'll give you one example. Sorry, I'm just trying to read it from my computer screen here. The usual guard at Horse Guards had been withdrawn, and orderlies and staff officers were going to and fro. All this I saw on the way to my office, where I worked away till 12 o'clock. And then, feeling hungry after my early breakfast, I went across Parliament Street to my club to get some luncheon. So bear in mind, at this time, you know, imminent invasion is on its way, right? There were about half a dozen men in the coffee room, none of whom I knew, but in a minute or two, Danvers of the Treasury entered in a tremendous hurry. From him I got the first bit of authentic news I'd had all day. The enemy had landed in force near Harwich, and the metropolitan regiments were ordered down there to reinforce the troops already collected in that neighbourhood. His regiment was to parade at 1 o'clock, and he had come to get something to eat before starting. It's all like, you know, Francis Drake finishing his game of bulls and that kind of stuff, isn't it? But it's good fun. It's interesting, and as I say, if you like this genre, if you like, although H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds is of course you know, interplanetary invasion. But if you like that kind of stuff, I would say, yeah, give this a go. It's free. You know, you can download it for free, and it will take you, I don't know, not very long to read it at all. It's very, very short. In fact, almost the preface to it is just as long as the novella itself. But I think it's worth giving it a go. So there we go. That's our first Freebie Friday. and that was the Battle of Dorking by General Sir George Tomkyns Chesney. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for watching, and look forward to seeing you all again very shortly. Take care. Bye bye.